can the universe beat that?
Solid Fire Pits is just one of the 5 million U.S. businesses that rely on TikTok every day. TikTok sparks business.
Are you having transmission problems and struggling to find a place to work on it? I've got some exciting news for you. I'm Matthew from Fix It Forward Auto Care, and we're excited to announce that we're now offering full-service transmission repair for automotive and light truck applications, including repair, rebuilding, and replacement. If your transmission is making unusual noises, slips, or is leaking, stop by any of our 4 convenient FM locations so our skilled technicians can check it out. Fix It Forward Auto Care, the name you trust for car repair.
Fix It Forward Auto Care.
Weather and Ag in Focus on WDAY Radio.
And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday, January 18th. I'm finally back after my long...
You were gone?
Have my long...
I didn't know you were gone.
Vacation, sickness the last couple of days.
Job interview go well?
Job interview went very well.
All right, good
like
luck.
I said, have
So
we met? You
it's
look
just
familiar.
a waiting game now. Yeah, how have you guys been? I haven't seen you in like a hot minute. What have you guys been up to?
Well, I'm now 87 years old.
No
and
way. You don't look a day over 84.
She looks great for her age.
I like the way you think.
How you guys enjoying the cold? It's been cold the last few days. I haven't seen you since the blizzard. Yes, the blizzard on Saturday.
Some weren't calling that a blizzard.
I heard something about that, yes.
So we're just going to
It's
call
not
it
a blizzard, but a blizzard.
It was a weather
Very
action?
interesting. Very.
Was it a weather conflict? It wasn't a war. It was a conflict.
It
So
was
a weather
not.
conflict.
Some people had conflicts with it.
Yeah.
Probably
Someone
true.
had more than others.
Well, it is cold, but hey,
Yeah, it
it's
is.
nothing that January hasn't
It's just brisk,
seen
guys.
before.
You guys know how I always talk about, what if it was colder? I just want to know what that feels like, right? Like 70 below over in Dickinson, 72 below in Dickinson.
That was quite the deal.
Jacob, why don't you pull that photo up? This was one of the days last week when it was 53 below wind chill in Grand Forks. I had to go out there and see what it felt like. So I went out there in a T-shirt and some shorts, and I filled up the bird feeders with some bird seed. And
Did you do the old throw the water in the air trick?
I didn't. 2 years ago I did that, but I didn't do it this year.
There's a new trick. I saw this gal from, I think she was in Alberta, and she had like a 4-cup measuring cup full of water, and then she slowly poured it in a swirl, and literally it froze so quickly that it froze like an icicle up in that swirl.
Oh, really?
So that's our next mission. The next time it gets
fun.
super cold, we're doing that.
Did you see the spaghetti or the
the ramen.
noodles.
ramen noodles? Yeah.
Did you see the one about the
Fork
girl who got her hair wet and then hung upside down outside? And when she bent back over, her hair was sticking straight out
Yeah.
because it froze.
Was it really?
Oh, it was so cool.
Bride of Frankenstein right there.
I think that leads up to a thing here. We could have people call in. What's the coolest thing you've seen or with the cold? We were talking about how you've seen the noodles that were frozen in the air with the spoon or the fork still in them, frozen hair standing straight up. You did one a couple years ago where you froze a pair of pants in about 1 minute outside.
Oh, yeah.
Who froze the banana and used that as like a hammer to hammer a nail? I saw
I've
that
seen
one.
that
the
one.
banana for a
Yeah,
hammer.
for a hammer.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'd have thought the
man.
banana would shatter, personally.
You would think it would.
Well.
701-293-9000 is the Red Wings Shoes phone line if you want to share a cool video or something, a cool experiment you saw with how cold it was over this past week. We can take some callers that way on our Red Wings Shoes phone line, and I think we're getting someone already. Hi there, caller. What's your name? Hello?
Hi.
Hi, what's your name?
My name is Mary.
Mary, could you turn your radio down just a little bit, and then do you got a comment or a story of something cool you saw in the cold?
Yeah, I had a couple years ago when it was really cold, I took clothes and I froze them in the shape of a person, and then I had it half hanging out of my garbage can.
Oh, could you please invite us over
Yeah.
the next time you do that? I'd like to get some
Right?
pictures. Yeah.
Right? I was kind of kicking myself. I forgot to do that this year. But
What'd your neighbors
so-
think?
they laughed. They thought it was really funny because I did it at night, and so they were leaving for work in the morning, and it looked like, my husband sticking half out. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. It's kind of like as kids, we did the stuff, a pair of jeans and boots with hay and stick them out of a round hay bale.
Yeah.
So it looked like somebody got rolled up in the
Oh.
bale. Yeah. Similar situation.
I love it.
That's
Or
great.
growing up as a kid, my mom used to hang out her laundry and she would even do it in the wintertime. And I just remember getting ready for church Sunday morning and bringing in our jeans, and it's like they walk themselves in the house. And yeah.
Oh, Mary,
All right, have a great day.
Yeah,
Thanks,
Mary,
Mary.
thank you.
the next time Mary does that, I would like her address so we could stop by because I think this is a field trip that would be awesome.
I did not expect that.
That's awesome.
That's
That's
great.
super
She's our
cool.
kind of
Different
people.
one.
If anyone
Okay.
else has got something fun they want to share, again, 701-293-9000 is the Red Wing Shoes phone line.
Well, that's you. Wow, that's great.
frozen
I bet
person
she's
in
a
a
hoot.
garbage
I bet
can.
she's a hoot around Halloween. Oh man,
I would think so. April Fool's Day. I wouldn't give her a call if I were you.
right? Man, well, we do have some cold weather that's going to continue for the next couple of days. We've got a mix of sun and clouds out there. Temperatures in the single digits. Thankfully, winds not as strong today as they have been, but we're still looking at wind chills about 10, 20 below out there. Should make it up to about 7, so a few more degrees from where we're at right now. Reinforcing shot of Arctic air comes in tonight. That'll squeeze out what little moisture there is and give us a little bit of light snow or snow flurry activity. It could pick up a couple tenths of an inch, so not a big deal. Lows down near 5 below, and then Friday it's going to be cold with temperatures right around 4 above. You factor in the winds, we're looking at wind chills 20 below or colder. And then Saturday, the morning's going to start out cold, and the winds will ramp up by mid to late afternoon. So we might have a problem of blowing snow, even though there's not much out there. When you get 30-plus mile-an-hour wind gusts on Saturday out of the south, some of those east-west roads could get a little greasy and could have some reduced visibility in open country. And then Sunday, pick day of the weekend, low 20s. And then all next week, we're in the 20s to low 30s. So,
Really?
Yeah.
Not bad.
Okay.
We'll finally
We like that.
kick this Arctic air mass up north where it belongs.
Yes.
It'll be back. It'll be back in February, but
So
we'll get rid of it for now.
how unused to cold weather am I this year? Today was probably one of the few days I didn't wear my Red Wing work boots in when I came into the office. I just have a pair of tennis shoes on. I got out of my pickup and I'm like, why are my feet so cold? Oh, good Lord, these are tennis shoes. They're not my leather Red Wings. So, got to keep that in mind. Thank you again to Teresa on Main Avenue for her work with us. And those Red Wing boots, they're pretty awesome. They've come in super handy, not only in the field, but I've been using them for trade shows this year, and they've been great.
Nice.
Like them a lot.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Good deal. We got a guest coming up on the show in a little bit
We
here.
do. David Weinand is going to join us. He is with the Minnesota Department of Ag. We're going to talk about animal biosecurity. And David and I just happened to be sitting next to each other during the Minnesota State Cattlemen's Association meeting back in December in Alexandria. And we had such a great time chatting about things that are going on in Minnesota Department of Ag, what's going on with livestock biosecurity, because Justin has continually asked what's going on with bird flu, but there's other things as far as hogs, beef, dairy as well. And I think David's a great resource for that. And while doing his homework, Jacob, our producer, found a video on livestock biosecurity. We think it's from the 70s, perhaps early 80s, and he's going to play a clip of that a little bit later when David comes on.
This
And
is super fun.
we'll decide whether or not that's all still pertinent information. But I do love the fact that we have some things like that biosecurity may sound new, but we've been doing it on farm and in processing facilities for decades. So it just goes to show how safe your food really is right here in the United States.
Cool.
Never forget.
And a couple of ag topics we'll be covering throughout the course of this hour as well. One of them being virtual fence training for cattle, and also the Minnesota program for youth in beef cattle. Mm-hmm. So we'll be talking about those two things. And again, during the segment, if you want to call in and share a story or something cool you saw, experienced with how cold it's been, talking about Mary who froze clothes in the shape of a person, put them halfway in a garbage can, people freezing their hair, having it stand straight up in the 40 below cold.
But wait, there's more. There's one other ag headline on here.
Really? What's
There
that?
is. Cattle really eat that? Or cattle eat that? I don't know if you guys noticed that one or not.
Oh, no. I
Okay.
snuck that one past me.
Oh, I did. Cattle have a sweet tooth, beef animals. They do. Dean's quote, look on
Really?
my face is like, they what? Or look on your face. So if you've ever seen like the big orange or red tubs that are out in a pasture, they're actually like a molasses-based sweetener that cattle like to come up and lick. They also get salt blocks. They need sweet and salty, so we have salt blocks out there for them. But we know that here in the United States, 40% of edible food is wasted every year. That's 34 million tons of food going into our landfills. 40%. You guys eat more of the stuff in your fridge. Come on now. And that accounts for about 20% of U.S. methane emissions. Well, cattle are upcyclers, right? They'll eat stuff that not everybody else will. For instance, grass. Last I checked, none of us are out there munching on the, through the sod that's out in the back. No. And the ruminants, they can convert rangeland into protein, energy, all sorts of things. Well, cattle also like sugar beet pulp. That's a byproduct out of the sugar beet industry. They'll eat distillers' grains from the ethanol industry. Expired cookies, they'll take them.
Of course they will.
Potatoes. Cotton seed screenings, they'll do that. So we have a guest talking about cotton on Monday. We can ask about that in the livestock sector. But yeah, cows will eat a lot of things. And you always think that hogs are the only ones that'll just or a goat. A goat will eat anything. But cows are pretty good at it too, whether dairy or beef. And
so they have a favorite.
They kind of do. And the EPA tells us that 4% of greenhouse gases in the U.S. can be attributed to livestock production and feed production. 4%. But they overlook the 80% coming from transportation, power production, and other industries. So
yeah, but 4 is a big number, Bridgette.
Sure it is. But those cows, they can upcycle. They can take all those things. Although when I brought this up this morning on Body and Friends, Jay said, expired cookies. Who has cookies that last that long? I remember my grandma sending an ice cream bucket of Christmas cookies out to the farm. It was probably in February. She goes, oh, I forgot these in the freezer at Christmas. We never ate them all. I'm sure they're terrible.
No.
She told us that after we kids got off the school bus and plowed through an entire ice cream bucket of cookies. We're like, yeah, the cookies are fine.
Yep.
Don't worry. Got this.
If not, the livestock will eat it.
So there you go. If we need somebody to recycle here at the office, we'll get a cow.
That's awesome.
Okay.
We still got your old cow, Dean.
Yeah.
How's she doing?
She's doing okay. I taught her how to go up and down the stairs.
You taught her how to go back down.
Yep.
Did you have to change your stairs at all?
Yeah, they should be ramps,
Well,
they don't
I do
bend
have
that
like when your dog gets old and you build the stairs for the dog to get in the bed. So I had to build the ramp on both sections.
Either side. So the steps are in the middle.
I hope you have tile, not carpet.
For you.
Oh, it's time. Yeah.
Nice.
There's a reason why, right?
That's exactly right. I used to wash the dairy barn. I know.
See?
All right. We are going to be right back with our guest today. Again, that is David Weinand.
A sticky situation.
He's here from the Minnesota Department of Ag. We're going to talk about animal biosecurity. This is going to be great fun. We'll be right back.
Livestock is mostly higher this afternoon for the American Ag Network. I'm Richard Risfet with this market update. Live cattle futures quickly followed the pace of aggressive buying interest in feeder cattle futures today. Although gains are still well under the levels realized in feeder cattle futures, all live cattle contracts are holding triple-digit gains with the focus on nearby contracts testing the $2 per hundredweight gains at midday. Traders are also starting to adjust positions ahead of tomorrow's cattle on feed report. Now, this may add some additional volatility to the market both in front and after the report. Cattle on feed estimates are expected to be 102% of year-ago levels, which at this level would put total feedlot inventory below 12 million head. If reports come in significantly higher than these expectations, then traders are likely to become less optimistic about short and long-term supply consolidation. Cash cattle markets still remain quiet today with limited activity still seen in most areas. Asking prices seen over the last couple of days of 174 to 175 in the south still are holding, but given the bullishness of futures trade feeders are likely to start increasing these asking prices as they focus on steady tire cash trade by the end of the week. Box beef prices are mixed. Choice down 154 and select up 23 cents with a movement of 67 loads. Now, the optimism seen over the past few days with feeder cattle is combining with fundamental and technical support, redeveloping in nearby contracts, and is helping to solidify buyer support. Traders are looking for a solid move through the end of the week and will closely be monitoring the cattle on feed placement number, which is expected to be lower than a year ago levels. We'll get a look at the livestock numbers next. You're listening to the American Ag Network.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. Are you over the age of 60 and been diagnosed with lung cancer? If so, you and your family may qualify for a cash award. Our experienced attorneys are standing by to evaluate whether you have a lung cancer claim that qualifies you for a cash award. The consultation is absolutely free, and there is no risk and no money out of pocket. We only receive a fee when we secure you and your family a settlement. 250,000 people are diagnosed with lung cancer every year. You're not alone in this battle. We can help make sure that you and your family are financially financially safe and that medical expenses are covered. Again, if you've been diagnosed with lung cancer and are over age 60, call now. Don't delay. There are deadlines for filing claims. We're standing by 24/7. Call us at 1-844-903-1744. 1-844-903-1744. That's 1-844-903-1744. Attorney advertising. William Steppacker Jr. is the attorney responsible for this ad. Main office, Granton, Pennsylvania. May not be available in all states.
To look at the livestock numbers, live cattle February up 162 at 174.72, April up 197 at 177.60, June up 170 at 174.50, and the August live cattle, they're up 147 at 174.90. Feeders, January up 252 at 230.95, March up 277 at 232.55. Lean hogs, February down 30 at 71.15, April up 32 at 78.30, and the May lean hogs, they're up a dime at 84.05. For the American Ag Network, I'm Richard Ristvet.
Weather and Ag in Focus on WDAY Radio.
And welcome back. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. And that's my favorite sounder, the Fisher-Price Little Red Barn. It just makes sense.
Hey, meant to ask you.
Yeah.
So Santa
brought me pigs.
He got you because you lost your little Fisher-Price piggies.
Thank you, Santa.
Are they back in?
The barn?
They back in the barn?
They are back in the barn.
Both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And you locked it shut
for now.
Cool.
The next time we go out to a field, I'm going to have to keep.
Make sure you leave with both of them.
Got to keep a much closer eye on the pigs. Apparently, they're slippery little
They
suckers.
like to get out.
Yeah, they take right off on you. Oh, and so welcome to our guest today, David Weinand. I think we're saying that right. And David, please correct us if we're not. David's with the Minnesota Department of Agriculture. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you.
Oh, awesome. All right. Tell us a little bit about what you do over at Minnesota Department of Ag, MDA.
So I work at the Minnesota Department of Agriculture. I work with biosecurity on farms. So we've got a number of different things. You think about security for your office building, or think about security for any other, work environment. You've got someone at the front gate who's there to make sure that no bad characters get in the door, or if they do, they've stopped right there. And then
ours is named Sophia, so feel free to use her as your example all the way along today.
Okay. Yep. In our office, it was Vern. So yep. And he was a gentleman there who was packing heat. So he was there to make sure that everybody was up to no good. So they were stopped at the door. And that's what farms have got to do too. Is put someone in the front in relation to stopping any of those bacteria coming in. I interrupted your thought there.
No. Go ahead.
No. So it whether it's these viruses or it's bacteria, any of those kind of things that come in, it's a way that the farm can be better prepared in relation to being able to prevent those diseases from coming into their farm. And it's in some ways, I like to compare it to, so I have a couple of sons, and they like to play this game online, and the name of the game doesn't matter, but it's castles. So they've got a castle, and they built this castle, and now you got this castle. Now you need to build a wall around your castle to protect your castle. Well, first you start off with sticks and rocks and things like that, and then as things advance, you advance to rock to these others. Structures that you could protect your farm or your castle. Then you got a moat that goes around your castle, and all of those help protect your castle. And it's the same thing on the farm. Are you protecting your animals from any incursion of any bacteria coming in or any visitors coming in? Are they clean? Are they, before they come in, are they walking in with dirty boots and carrying disease from one farm to the next? So those are some of the things that I'm working on at the Minnesota Department of Agriculture. I'm working on another plan. I'm hoping to finish it up here in the next week in relation to African swine fever. That's only 20 or 200 miles off of our border in Dominican Republic. And so swine producers have been very anxious in relation to that. That came around in 2018 or 2019. It invaded the Dominican Republic, and they've been able to contain it. But there's always that chance that it could come to the United States, and if it does, that's just going to be devastating to the swine industry.
Okay, we got a pile of questions, guys.
Okay, so I've got an I've got an email question here, David, from one of our listeners, and asking, with the influx of immigrants coming in from our southern border, is there any worries of terrorism in terms of maybe, trying to poison our food industry, our livestock, stuff like that? Is that something that's on the radar?
Well, I do know that the border security is doing their best to try and make sure that anyone who comes in is clean in relation to their clothes are clean, their boots are clean, everything that comes in is clean, so that they're not going to bring in that bacteria or things like that. So I do know that the police force is working diligently in the borders to try and make sure that things stay clean, and those who do come in, that they are safe and are clean before they are able to be employed on a farm. And it's up to the farm too. So if somebody hires someone, it's up to them to make sure that they've got clean equipment, or clean clothes, a change of clothes in relation, and then train them in relation to their biosecurity for their farm.
Okay.
So I'm going to go back to, you were talking about that swine fever, and it just being, I think you said the Dominican Republic, a couple hundred miles offshore. Was it 2009 that it got spread to the Dominican?
It was either 2018 or 2019. I don't
18
remember
or
which.
19. Okay. So how is it something that you said that they, for the most part, have got it under containment, but how would something like that move from the Dominican Republic to the United States? Is it just going to be some contaminated clothing that's from one farm to another, or is this something that can somehow cross a different path or a different way? What are the concerns, or what does that look like?
Sure. Swine, it's contact with another infected swine. So I think our state vet kind of summarized it very well from the standpoint of it is spread pig to pig, but it's people who are probably the biggest challenge in relation to the spreading of the disease. So it can be spread, like you said, through dirty clothes or dirty boots in relation to carrying that manure or whatever from if you visited a farm that was infected and then you brought that back without washing your clothes or cleaning them, it would definitely have that potential and have that high risk of carrying that to the next farm or back to the United States. The other thing is if any swine products come from those farms or come from those countries and then come to the United States, and then that's fed to swine, that can also can be a source of how that disease can spread. One of the things that has been researched is that it can stay viable in frozen product for up to a year. So again, if something comes in, there's sausage or something like that from another country that is infected, and that was an infected product, and then it was, again, we do have some farms. I know that in Minnesota, I'm sure in other states too, that they're garbage feeders. So they will collect this organic material from colleges, restaurants, and things like that. Then they will cook it to kill any of that bacteria, and then they'll feed it to their hogs. And I'm sure that I know that it's common, especially in around metropolitan areas, as a way to reduce the amount that goes into landfills. But if it's not cooked, then that can be a problem and a challenge and have that increased risk.
It can be spread.
I see it. And I got one more on hogs, just since we're talking about this before we hit bottom of the hour news. What are the concerns or your thoughts on the wild hogs, the feral hogs in Canada, moving their way down into the prairies of North Dakota and portions of Minnesota as well? Is there any concerns that come to your mind from that ongoing kind of battle that's going on up here?
Absolutely. And yes, that is a concern. It's one thing that we've talked about. I know the state of Minnesota has purchased some swine traps. They're popular in the southern states. to try and control the feral swine population. Minnesota, I think, has purchased, I think it's either 2 or 3 those type of traps. And yeah, I know our state vet has been in communication with Winnipeg and Manitoba in relation to the feral swine that are up there, and they are giving us the impression that it's controlled, or it's being controlled, or the number of animals is really small, so it's not as, they're giving us the impression that it's not as big an issue. But if African swine fever got into that population, that would be very detrimental.
Okay. Right on. Well, we're at bottom of the hour news here. We gotta hit this break. When we come back, we'll rejoin this conversation with David from the Minnesota Department of Ag Animal Biosecurity. If you want to ask some questions, feel free to give us a call on the Red Wing Shoes phone line. That's 701-293-9000. Emails, weather or ag at flagfamily.com. Bridgette's personal phone, or as well, our comment box is available there on Facebook and YouTube Live. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after news.
West Funeral Home in your difficult time.
Have you planned for all your life's events? At West Funeral Home and Life Tribute Center, we would be honored to have that talk of a lifetime with you. Through pre-planning, we will help honor and celebrate your journey on Earth so you can leave your family a lasting, treasured memory. Discover the difference.
West Funeral Home and Life Tribute Center. Little things make the difference.
Good afternoon, I'm Tom Tucker, WDAY News First. The agency that regulates marijuana policy in Minnesota is giving its first estimate of how many dispensaries could eventually be licensed in the state. The Office of Cannabis Management says the state will need at least 381 dispensaries to meet guidelines approved under state law. The state legislature could decide to increase that number if demand supports it. The agency is working on rules for retail cannabis operations and expects dispensaries to begin opening next year. The area director for North Dakota's Small Business Development Center says a new wave of entrepreneurship is expected in 2024.
Nearly a quarter of U.S. consumers are considering starting a new business in 2024, and that percentage is actually 28% among Gen Z.
Paul Smith says young people are finding that owning businesses is a better pathway for building wealth compared to more traditional investments. A family and consumer science teacher at Grafton High School is the winner of a Prominent Education Award.
The Milken Educator Award goes to Katie Gorder.
Caitlin Gorder was presented with a Milken Educator Award Wednesday morning. The award includes a $25,000 cash prize. Tom Tucker, WDAY, and WDAYRadioNow.com.
Are you ready for the seasons ahead? The new Subaru models can help. With standard symmetrical all-wheel drive, Subaru provides a quicker response to road conditions than competitors' optional systems. Yes, Subaru delivers confident capability no matter the weather or road conditions. That's why you see so many Subaru models on the roads around you. Check out the new Subaru models today at Muscatel Subaru, just off Exit 1 in Moorhead. Subaru, built to last.
Encounter Jesus, experience grace at Olivet Lutheran Church. We offer multiple styles of worship services. Our Sunday morning 8:30 worship is filled with traditional hymns led by the organ. If contemporary music is more your style, the Sunday morning 10:30 service will be what you're looking for. And our Wednesday 6 p.m. service is quiet, contemplative, and acoustic. Worship with us online on our YouTube channel. To find out more, visit olivet.org. Encounter Jesus, experience grace at Olivet Lutheran Church.
Attention drivers, are you tired of that annoying chip in your windshield? Trust Glass Doctor Auto to make it crystal clear again. Hi, Reed here. Did you know that when you replace your windshield with Glass Doctor, our expert technicians will calibrate your lane departure warning system sensors right here in our shop? That's right, at Glass Doctor Auto we go the extra mile to keep you driving confidently, ensuring your safety on the road. Make your appointment now by visiting glassdoctor.com. That's glassdoctor.com.
Call the Glass Doctor, we'll fix your pains.
This is Weather and Ag in Focus with Bridgette Readel, Justin Storm, and Dean Wysocki.
How appropriate at the zoo. I bet they got to take biosecurity measures at a zoo, too.
Indeed, they do.
Not just all of us here, because Justin's finally healthy and back. So wash your hands over there. Don't spread anything around, please.
You're all getting 4-day vacations, courtesy of me.
Yeah, no.
I hate you a lot. Okay, so we have a guest with us today, and that would be David Weinand, and David is with the Minnesota Department of Ag. While we're visiting with David, we're going to roll that footage on the live stream of video. It's a training video on biosecurity from USDA. It's fairly vintage, so it'll be quite entertaining, and it focuses on the live bird market. And with recent events of bird flu, David, I'm going to take us in that direction. I think we're probably seeing some numbers down, but what are your recommendations on biosecurity to those who have not only backyard flocks, but commercial poultry, as Minnesota's #1 in poultry production in the U.S.?
Yeah, so biosecurity is important for backyard flocks as well as for commercial flocks. It's been almost 3 weeks in our last outbreak in Minnesota, which was a backyard flock. And it's those small things. It's not changing your boots, or it's tracking in something from the outside that is part of that biosecurity, that whether it's a backyard flock or it's a commercial poultry operation. Minnesota's #1 in turkeys, and we've had, I want to say it's about 40. I'd have to look at the numbers exactly, but there's about 40 farms that have been affected this last fall. Some of those have been backyard flocks, and again, backyard producers as well as commercial producers can do those small things. Having a different set of boots for outside versus inside, and or having a change of clothes, having a pair of coveralls that is dedicated. That is what's in the inside of the barn. That's what's on the outside of the barn. So I've got a small hobby farm. We have clothes, or we have clothes. They're coveralls that we use for our chickens. We have a backyard flock, and my daughter is trying to hatch out some 4-H chicks right now, so they'll be ready for the county fair, and it's all a part of, putting on those boot covers when you go into the chicken coop, or it's something as small as making sure you've got a clean set of clothes that you use, or those white coveralls, that personal protective equipment that's showing on that video there. And yes, I have seen that video. It is vintage. It is vintage, but there's still a lot of good information that's on there. It's cleaning equipment. It's making sure everything is clean in relation to not carrying something from one farm to the next and things like that. So
I think if you're not familiar as a livestock producer with some of those deals, like at confinement hog operations, showering as you go into the operation, showering as you come back out, to make sure you're not carrying things with you. The change in clothing, the same thing with when we travel, because you mentioned the outbreak of swine fever or swine flu in the Dominican Republic. That's why Customs is so diligent about saying, don't bring back these items. And if you are a farmer, you would likely not take those shoes that you wore on vacation anywhere near your livestock, because you could be carrying disease spores on your shoes.
Interesting.
And Bridgette is 100% correct. They've got this Beagle Brigade.
Yes.
And they have these beagles that walk among the people as they're exiting the plane. They're dogs, and they're great. They're fantastic. They're sniffing the luggage. They're sniffing the people.
Wow.
So if you tried to bring in African swine fever in a sausage or a summer sausage, that kind of thing, they would smell, and they would notify the handler and say, nope, there's something going on. And I've seen pictures where they've had actual heads of hogs. People have brought them back from other countries.
Oh, way.
For them it's a delicacy, and for them it's they want those things that they're most familiar with. My heart goes out to them. They want what they had in their native country. They just want to bring it back and share it with their family.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've got to put those walls up, and we've got to make sure that our food supply is safe and we protect our farms.
So this was a news story that came up, I think it was a year, maybe it could have been 2 years ago now, of a person who was flying from Australia, Europe or America, one of the two. I don't think it really matters besides what the point of this is. They were held up in the airport in Australia, and they basically about missed their flight back because of a McDonald's sausage sandwich. And I'm guessing that is probably why, is because of the biosecurity, the chance of some bacteria being in there and bringing it to another country.
Yep. And I'm not familiar with that story, but yeah, any of those things that we as consumers, or we're asking the consumers to do in relation to protect our livestock in the state of Minnesota, as well as in the entire United States. Again, if foot and mouth disease or African swine fever, or as we've seen, high-path avian influenza have come in, that closes off those export channels. And I want to say there's something around 20% of the poultry products are exported. It's around 18 to 20% of the beef products are exported. Swine is somewhere in that 25 to 30% is exported. We need those export markets, and different countries will say, nope, not going to take your products. You've got African swine fever, you got this foreign animal disease, and until you get it under control, we don't want your products. And so we need those export markets to stay open.
Awesome. And we got a caller on our Red Wing Shoes phone line. If anyone else wants to sneak in here, 701-293-9000 is the Red Wing Shoes phone line. And we have Al on line 1. And Al, you got a question for our guest today?
Yeah, you were talking earlier there about Manitoba having a little bit of problem there, but got friends up around Bull Bells there that they see the feral hogs coming across Canada into North Dakota more and more now.
I think that that's very true. We've had those instances, and in fact, there was one last fall in Tulna where a farmer shot what he believed to be a feral hog. They did DNA testing, and that one they did say was not feral. So you're right, Al. Hogs like that don't stop at the border and ask permission when they're coming through. They tend to ignore the gates. But by all means, whenever something like that is seen, we definitely want to involve Fish and Wildlife here in the state, Game and Fish Department here in North Dakota, because we do want to have that DNA tested to find out what is the situation, what is that animal, because if we have to take any biosecurity measures, we would. And I would venture a guess it's very much the same over in Minnesota, David.
Yeah,
correct. And I do know that.
I think they're herding them from Canada over here.
Oh, no. We don't want to.
Well, I don't know anything about that, but I do know that I do have some coworkers who work in Fish and Wildlife Services, and if they do capture any wild hogs or any feral hogs, they do test them. They test them for classic swine fever, African swine fever, as well as pseudorabies and a series of other diseases. So again, if we can keep the disease out, that's a benefit for everyone. All consumers and everyone involved.
Well, Al, thanks very much for calling and appreciate your questions. And Bridgette, I know you got a bunch more. Otherwise, I can sneak one in here if you.
Well, one of the things I wanted to make sure we asked David is, are there any grants or information that farmers should know if they want to increase their biosecurity measures, something through the state of Minnesota that they should be aware of? Anything that comes to mind, David?
Well, I do know that they can work with either myself or their veterinarian to produce a biosecurity plan for their farm. And I encourage them to work with their veterinarian, because their veterinarian is going to be most familiar with their farm in relation to that. So it's important to work with your vet to prevent any incursion of any bacteria, any viruses. And again, they're going to be their best source. Otherwise, they can contact myself. As far as grants, no, I'm not aware of any grants in Minnesota or even in North Dakota, but I do know that, we want to work with farms, and it's not something we want to come down from the top down. We want farmers to be proactive in relation to this. And in a lot of cases, it's just having a plan in place. It's no different than if you're going to go fix fence. You want to make sure, I've got my pliers, I've got my wire, I don't have fence posts. I got to go to town, I got to get fence posts. No, if you've got all the materials you need, then you can do the job you need to do. And that's essentially what we're trying to do, is encourage producers to be prepared.
I got one here that doesn't really, well, it kind of ties in, but it's for those that are not involved in agriculture and still kind of keeping on the terms of biosecurity. And this is something that's probably more popular in dads of the age of 35 and older, but feeding birds in your backyard, is that a concern of biosecurity or the spread of bird flu as well when we're experiencing, higher than usual peaks in an area?
So wildlife, especially wild birds, do carry or are carriers of high path avian influenza. And I know that there was something that came out, I want to say it was a year ago, maybe it was more than a year ago, from the University of Minnesota, that or from the Raptor Center, I think, that discouraged people from feeding birds in their backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Songbirds are generally not an issue, not a problem. It's the ducks, the geese, and some of those that are more prominent and more likely to be carriers of that avian influenza. And so in many cases, consumers are just, took the bird feeder down for a couple of weeks until the birds migrated from the north to the south and moved on. But I do know that was something that came out a while ago. But the risk is very low.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of what I was thinking and thought you would think kind of the same way on, is that it was more of that migratory bird that was the issue than more of your backyard songbirds.
Very true.
Exactly. I think they can find it in songbirds, but it's extremely rare.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, any last questions, Bridgette, Dean, before we got to hit our next break here?
Actually, I wanted to make sure that, David, you mentioned folks could contact you or their vet if they want to work on any biosecurity measures. Where should folks go to look for information? What do you have on your website with MDA, et cetera? What are some steps folks could be taking?
Sure. Well, I know that if you just contact the Minnesota Department of Agriculture and ask about biosecurity, you'll either get myself or one of my coworkers in relation to that. I know that there's a number of people in North Dakota that, working with your Board of Animal Health, that in relation to that, there's people there who can help with that too. But yeah, it's the help is there if people are interested. And again, I'm not asking people to lay out a lot of cash. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of grants available that I'm aware of. But it's all about having that plan. And it's no different than if you're going to go driving, during a snowstorm. You want to have a plan. Oh, I'm going to go this roads or that roads in relation to getting there safely.
And a plan always works better in the end. That's awesome.
Yes, it does.
David, thank you for joining us today. This has been a fun conversation. I know that we could probably go on with a number of other species and diseases that are out there, and we didn't even talk about the potential of animal activists being a threat to biosecurity. We'll get that to on a different day, so we may have to talk again.
Sounds great. And yes, before I joined the Department of Ag, I was a nutritionist. And yes, we fed things like cottonseed, and I know that some of my friends in California feed almond hulls and citrus waste that they use it in their rations.
And the cattle love it.
And cattle just eat it up like there's candy.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you again, David. Everybody stick around. We want to touch on the weather and some more headlines when we come back.
Attention job seekers, AW Diesel Service Inc. in Gwinner, North Dakota is hiring a parts specialist. If you have light mechanical abilities, knowledge of heavy trucks, and excellent computer skills, AW Diesel Service wants to hear from you. This exciting opportunity involves dealing with the public, both in person and by phone. Monday to Friday, 8 to 5:30 with 1 to 2 Saturday mornings. Wages are negotiable and immediate start is possible. Contact Nancy at AW Diesel, 701-678-2132, or email your resume to nancy@awdiesel@gmail.com.
I absolutely love my white goose down blanket because it has superior insulating power because it is goose.
Well, it is. And, you know, I, for Christmas, had gotten a 6-piece towel set, and we've got extra people being in the house for the holidays. So the towels are needed. I got my stepson a terry cloth robe. I mean, you too can get fantastic stuff at mypillow.com. Just click on the radio listener square using promo code WDAY and save big.
Other great specials including the Roll and Go Anywhere My Pillows. They have the best sheets ever, my slippers in different styles, and also the My Pillow 2.0, all available at mypillow.com using the promo code WDAY.
Or call 800-875-0644. That's 1-800-875-0644 and enter promo code WDAY to save big on your holiday deals at mypillow.com.
Kick off your new year with a new job with a company that is family-oriented and offers great pay and benefits and room to grow your career. Plains Grain and Agronomy is hiring immediately for grain sampler, custom applicator, Class A truck driver, and general laborers. Plains Grain and Agronomy looks forward to visiting with you. Apply online at plainsgrain.com. That's plainsgrain.com.
Happy Harry's presents North Dakota's largest boat and marine product show, January 26th through the 28th at the Fargo Dome. See the latest in fishing boats, wakeboard boats, jet skis, cruisers, pontoons, docks, and lifts, and check out all the latest gear. It's the Boat Marine Product Show, January 26th through the 28th at the Fargo Dome. Show information at fargoboatshow.com.
The boat show is coming, better climb aboard. The boat show is coming, better climb aboard.
A Sonenko production.
Hey North Fargo, are you looking for trustworthy car repair? Matthew Carlson here, owner of Fix It Forward Auto Care, and we're excited to announce the opening of our new downtown Fargo location, conveniently located at 102 North University. We offer the same great service that you've come to know and expect with Fix It Forward Auto Care, now available in your neighborhood. Check us out online at fixitforwardautocare.com with 4 convenient locations. Fix It Forward Auto Care, the name you trust for car repair.
Fix It Forward Auto Care.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Weather and Ag in Focus on WDAY Radio.
How long can we sit in silence here?
Not very long. You talked.
I was just going to say, I thought we would keep on going there for a moment. But welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for rejoining us. It's 1:53. We got to check on the forecast coming up here in a moment. Here's your hint. It's cold outside, but it's going to turn warmer. And we also have a couple ag topics to get to. But if you want to join in on our conversations for this last segment or ask a last-minute question, give us a call on the Red Wing Shoes phone line. That's 701-293-9000. And before we hit that forecast, what do we say? We dive here into one of our remaining egg topics, and this is going to be virtual fence training for cattle. I didn't know that the cattle got the training.
Absolutely. You can put collars on them that are GPS driven. They can even have tiny solar panels so they can recharge.
Oh, look at that.
So it's kind of like training your dog with virtual fencing. Mm-hmm. And you can paddock off certain portions of a pasture so you can do intensive grazing, then you can move them to the next spot. And the cattle will respond with those collars with noises or vibration or something, so they realize, oh, got to stay here, etc. But also, like we've talked about with the 70X here in town, or 701X here in town, you can use that to monitor where they are so you don't lose your cattle, because as Justin said, if all of a sudden you have a heifer going down the road at 70 miles an hour, seems like that might be something you should look into.
Yeah,
She
no
may not
kidding.
be where you expected her to be.
Yeah, what's that dude's name? Brandon Fugel. I was going to get him in contact with Brandon Fugel.
Okay.
For those who know who Brandon is, you already know, but there's your homework for anyone who's curious.
Okay. But I do like the virtual fencing. Fence maintenance can be a lot. Winters like we had last year, where you have the snow and the ice pile up, we break barbed wire, we'll break poles, bend poles, and it becomes expensive and a lot of man hours in order to change those out and get everything fixed. So virtual fencing is a slightly different way to do it, and the technology is becoming more and more refined, where that signal is sharper and you're able to keep better track of where they're at, because we do have some pretty remote areas where we're grazing. It's not all Yellowstone, but call it close.
Close enough.
Well, I get a little concerned when people... I like the fact that Yellowstone has given us many agricultural topics to talk about, but we don't all have helicopters. We don't call the vet when we need stitches. There's just some things that are a little far-fetched, but the majority of it is worth the conversation.
Yeah, right on.
So now, one other thing, Minnesota, as we just talked with David from the Minnesota Department of Ag, Minnesota has the Youth Beef Experience Program. It started 20 years ago in 2004, and since then, they have awarded 175 heifers to young people across the Midwest. You don't have to be just in Minnesota. If you are ages 12 to 16, so we can't get you one, Dean, but maybe Bentley can have one
There you
now.
go.
Get him a heifer. They need to participate in 4-H, FFA, or a junior breed association like Junior American Angus Association. Kids fill out applications. They have to go through an interview process, and then they also get to choose their top 2 choices of breeds when they're filling out their application. And if they're one of the students that is awarded, they could pick from Angus, Charolais, Hereford, all the way up to Maine Anjou. And select sires will be donating semen for those heifers, so that you then can have your cow get pregnant, bring a calf, start your herd. This is how you get invested in having your own beef animals. And it's a great learning experience for kids, not only for the care of the animals, but the economics of it, because we laugh about those folks that we know who can't balance their checkbook or don't understand where their credit card payment goes every month.
It's because you guys keep spending my money.
Credit's going up, man. It's going up.
And so this is a way for students to learn those hands-on lessons very young when they're working with their livestock.
Cool.
It's a cool program.
It's a good
That
teaching
is
lesson.
super cool.
It's a good lesson. And I would tell you, over the years of someone being given a heifer, that's not a small investment.
No, I would
It's a lot of
imagine
dollars.
not. I'm sure that's probably a good little initial down
investment.
payment.
Yes, it's a way to get it started and keep kids active.
I see.
Do they get help with, raising?
As far as financial or someone mentoring them?
Yeah.
Usually you also have to be able to describe, where am I going to keep this animal? How am I going to care for it? So you probably are already on a livestock farm or have access to, so that you have someone who would be able to help you with that. I don't think they're going to start you out completely green.
So I don't think Bentley would be a candidate then. I don't think he's going to say, well, we'll keep it at my dad's house.
Well, I don't
Right
know.
next to Bessie.
Next to the cow, though. I
Ain't
mean,
no way you training 2 cows to go up and down stairs.
Hey.
One was a headache.
You've heard of the dog whisperer, right?
Yes.
I can do it.
I've seen the advice that our listeners give you on Facebook. I can only imagine the advice you would receive when it comes to raising a couple of cows, Dean.
There's a couple of golden comments that ever so often occasionally go by my feed, and I'm like, it's about Dean.
That's a good one.
That one's about Dean.
Absolutely. This is not surprising.
Well, your 30-second forecast is coming up here.
Where's my rain? Dean.
Yeah, well, rain, snow. We're in a snow drought for sure. In fact, Justin will have a little video on that and how our snow compares. Yeah, you will.
Oh.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you.
Dang.
On how our snowfall totals here compared to areas across the nation. That'll be a fun video. I think you'll be kind of surprised on that. But cold through Saturday and a little bit of the light snow tonight. No big storms on the horizon. Although the LRC does have something painted for the middle and end of next week. Models just starting to catch on that. But will it go south? And we'll kind of keep you up to date
Big
on that
question.
throughout the next few days.
More on that tomorrow. The Jay Thomas Show's coming up next. Everyone have a great rest of your day.